Hello, this is Lolly, and I'm back because I wanted to show you how to design your own custom measurements for a waterfall signature or card like I showed you in my last video, and I will link that video underneath this one in the description. Always when you have questions on a video, look underneath on the description. Even if you're on a cell phone or a tablet device, there's a little arrow under the video. You can click that to enlarge the information under it, and usually if we have corrections we want to make on our video, we'll stick that under there. So this one, using U.S. measurements, we have paper that's 11 by 8.5. So when you fold that in half, it's 8.5 by 5.5, and that was the finished size I wanted this one. However, a lot of times we have half sheets like this, and when we fold that to make a signature, it comes out to 4.25 by 5.5. So in that case, what do you do and how do you come up with the measurements to make a waterfall that the completed size will be like this? Well, what you need to do, and let me open this up because I printed it out for you. You need to figure out your paper size, and you need 4 pieces of paper, and each piece is going to be the exact same measurement that you cut it to. And I'll show you what I mean. When I open these up and line them up this way, see how they're exactly the same measurement. It's because they're scored on a different spot that you end up with the waterfall effect. So now I got to get this back the way it was. Okay, so how we figure out that paper size, that's our first information we need, is the size of paper to cut. So we know that this one is going to be the height of the paper. So I already said that on my notebook I want to make it 5.5 by 4.25. So 5.5 is the height, 5.5 inches. Now for the width, what we need to do is add the width of the front cover with the width of the back cover, because you can see that is all one sheet of paper. But since you don't have it in front of you, you're trying to figure it out. You've got to figure out how wide this section is. You know this one is going to be 4.25, but what is this going to be? So each of these is, of course I didn't measure greatly, I was in a hurry, but each of these is a 1/4 inch. You can see this one looks a little longer, but each one of these is supposed to be a 1/4 inch recessed from the last one. So if we start here, we know it's 4.25, and we need to count back 7 quarters. So to help do that, because a lot of us are challenged, if you will take, I have extra ruler, so I just marked all the quarters on here in a Sharpie marker. So if I start at 4.25 and count back 7 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that puts me at 2.5. So now I know that this measurement will be 2.5, but I have to add that to the 4.25 that I have on the back. So 4.25 plus 2.5. And that will give us 6.75. So in other words, 6 3/4. So that is the measurement of the paper to cut to do this. Okay. Now, so we know the measurement of the paper. So your score lines, when you have all 4 of your papers laid out like this, excuse me, open that one up. Okay. I open them this way, and this is going to be my cover. The first one, your score, is going to be the desired width of the project, which I said was going to be, excuse me, my overall project is going to end up being 5.5 by 4.25. So with the long way in your scoreboard, in this case 6.75, the first score is going to be the width of the project, which in this case is 4.25. When I'm done with that, the next one is scored a 1/4 inch shorter than that, so 4. 1/4 inch shorter, 3.75, and a 1/4 shorter is 3.5. And then that's the measurements on that. So I'm going to go over that again. The first thing you need to determine is your paper size. Your paper size is going to be a total of what you want the width of your project to be, which includes the back cover and the front cover. And that's the width. The height is going to be whatever height you've determined, okay? So once you do that, you've got to calculate, but you have to calculate what this is going to be when you know what the overall width is. If the overall width is 4.25, I'm going to subtract 7 quarters off of that, and this did help me to do that. I came up with 2.5 for this, 4.25 for that. I added it together and came up with 6 3/4. Always put your paper into your scoreboard, as long as you're, I'm assuming that your project is always going to be a little longer this way than this one, than it is wide when it is completed like this. It's tall and it's short this way. If that's the case, then you're always putting the long end of the paper up against the top of your scoreboard. Your first score is going to be the width of the back cover, or the width of the total project, 4 1/4 in each one, in this case. And then you're going to score each following page by 1/4 inch less. Now, if you do centimeters and this doesn't translate well for you, you've got to figure out, mostly what you need to do is figure out how much of a gap you want between each of these. In my measurements, I'm using 1/4 of an inch. You may determine if you want yours to be a centimeter, or if you want it to be half a centimeter, or if you want it to be 0.8 centimeter. You have to figure that out, and then subtract 7 of that dimension off of your project. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting together a spreadsheet that's going to show what the finished size of it's going to be. And again, finished is closed, 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 in this case. Okay, and 5 1/2 by 5 1/2 is the square that I showed you yesterday, and then 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 is the one that I just went over today. It's going to show the finished size, what size the 4 sheets need to be cut at, which side you need to score it on, and when it says score first, second, third, and fourth, that is meaning the first page, the second page, third, and fourth. So this is what I'm working on now. If someone has some has some information about what is a real good standard size in centimeters that you're using, I will make another note here for the measurements for that, and then I will publish this so that you can have a copy of it, and then that will help you out. Okay, I hope that it made sense. You can replay this video over, and you can look at this as well. And I could also include this document with this when I publish the results of this. Okay, I hope that helps. Let me know if you still have questions. Bye-bye.